Now that you've had some experience with tripping, let me tell you how it got started in the United States. Of all things, it probably started with a college professor. While this professor was on a trip to Mexico, some of the natives cooked him some special mushrooms that really sent him on a trip. There was a special chemical in these mushrooms that really turns you on. It's called psilocybin. Well, this professor had a good trip, and he thought that tripping was great. So he went back to Harvard University, where he taught, and turned on one of his fellow teachers. His friend also thought it was great, so they started to give drugs to their students. Well, soon thereafter, these two professors were kicked out of Harvard, and laws were passed against these drugs, but not before they had spread all over the country. It's important to realize, however, why these early drug users thought drugs were good. It's kind of hard to explain, but let me try. Close your eyes again. Pretend that you're sleeping and that you're having a dream. Things are not very clear, but you're trying to find your way home out of a storm. Now, wake up and pretend that you've been camping out and that a really bad storm has occurred. You pack up your gear and easily find your way home. Now, when you were dreaming, things were kind of vague. Then you awakened and things were much clearer. Now, suppose you could have a second wake-up. You know, you're sleeping, and then you wake up and are like you are now. And then suppose you could wake up even further. After this second wake-up, you would be able to see God and know why it's raining and when it's going to stop and everything. You know, you've heard people say, when will we ever wake up and stop having wars and stop polluting the air and water? You know, really wake up. Well, those early drug users thought that drugs like LSD could really help people wake up and start loving each other. They wanted to give them to people in government so they would stop the wars and everything. Well, it was a good idea, but the drugs didn't do their part. They didn't wake anybody up. Say you were asleep, and you wake up, and you're like you are now, but you want to be a good painter and you're just not making it. Or you want to be a good singer and you haven't hit it big yet. Or you just don't understand yourself or things. What would you do? Well, at first, some of the college kids thought that drugs would help, so they tried them. And it took them 7 years to find out that they didn't wake anyone up. The drugs killed some. Others dropped out of society, but no one received a second awakening from the drugs. And it took 7 years to find that out. Perhaps it's more than chance that Dr. Richard Alpert, one of the college professors associated with the early psychedelic movement in the United States, should be one of the leaders in ending it. He said it this way in an interview with Playboy magazine. I think LSD is making itself obsolete. All acid does is show you the possibility of another type of consciousness and give you hope. But your own impurities keep bringing you down. It's a yo-yo phenomenon, getting high and coming down. After a while, you dig that if you want to stay high, you have to work on yourself. So the college kids were looking for a second wake-up, and everyone agrees that we need a second wake-up. They tried drugs, and drugs didn't work. But what about the high school students and junior high school students? Why are they using drugs? Are they after a second wake-up too? Well, some of them are, but most are just doing what the college kids are doing, or doing the latest thing that seems exciting or in. Now that's too bad, because it might take them 7 years to find out what the college kids are just now learning. After all, you can't expect high school and junior high school students to be smarter than college kids. And the problem is much greater for those who don't even know what they expect to accomplish by taking drugs. But if it does take another 7 years, we will have many who will be killed, go insane, or damage themselves in other ways. So I think we should all profit by what the college kids have learned, if not from medical science, that LSD is not capable of a second awakening or any other demonstrated benefit.
You're back in your grave trying to climb out. Get out! Get out! Climb! Jump! Run! But get out!
That was a flashback. It can happen many days after a trip, and it can be dangerous. Imagine having a flashback as you're driving a car or crossing a busy street.